guys, so it is time to check our gravity. It's been a day of ferment. I've done a full day of fermentation. I did come out and stir the wine, or the soon-to-be wine, a little bit, just to kind of get that yeast mixed down in there. Everything mixed real good. I did sanitize the mixing paddle. But now it's time to check the gravity, see where we're at, because we're between 1040 and 1050 we're supposed to add the yeast nutrient. I'm hoping we're not below 1040, but if we are, we're still gonna add it and just roll with it, right? So anyways, also I did find out this wine is supposed to be like a 7%er. I read a 1060 gravity that actually puts me under 7%. We're just gonna roll with that as well. So yeah, I did. It was right here in the description. If I had read just a little bit further down, right here, it says it's going to be a 7% alcohol. Or, it should be 7%, but like I said, mine's going to be a little over 6%, maybe 6.5%. If it ferments all the way down to 1010, it's going to be like a 6.5%er. So we'll still go with it. It'll be a lighter alcohol wine, but man, I'm just curious to see how this is going to taste when it's done and if I did it right. So anyways, let's go on with it. All right, I'm going to pop the airlock off here just so I don't suck any sanitizer into my fermenter while I'm pulling this sample. So let's go ahead and draw a sample here. Okay, let's see. Maybe just a little more. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna put the hydrometer in here. Give it a little spin. It has been fermenting because I have been watching the airlock bubble away. And you know what? Actually some carbonation in there. So about, okay, there's a little something going on with the carbonation bubbles. We're about 1050 from what I'm looking at on here. I'm gonna go ahead and add the nutrient in there and get this thing going. But I'm spinning it because there's like bubbles on the hydrometer, but I think it's from the carbonation, and maybe that's why they say to ferment with the lid loose. I don't know, it's my first time doing wine, but looks like it's gonna be fun when we actually have to degas this wine. Which I did order a special device for that, as a matter of fact. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the lid off this thing, and we're gonna put in our yeast nutrient. All right, let's pop the lid off. Should be some fermentation going on in here. I'm gonna go ahead and actually open up the yeast nutrient here. So it's ready to go. Those who have never seen yeast nutrient before, this is what it looks like. Just like a white powdery stuff. We're just gonna sprinkle that in there. Go ahead and pop the lid off. Oh yeah, got some good krausen going on already in here. So we're gonna go ahead and put some yeast food in here on top of the wonderful sugars that are already in here for the wine. All right, and that's it, guys. That is it. We're gonna let it sit for another 2 weeks or so, and then we will be degassing and clarifying this and then letting it sit for even longer. Let's see what it says here. Let me put the airlock back on. All right, just gonna leave it up here, like I said. Let's see what it says here. Okay, according to the instructions here, it says that we're going to English side. I was on the French side. Get with it, James. It says mix thoroughly daily, which I did mix it yesterday. I'm gonna touch it today. I don't want to be putting my utensil in there too often and risking contamination, honestly. It says once the gravity has reached between 1040 and 1050, add the yeast nutrient, which we did just now. And then careful to avoid overflowing fermenter if it's full. Yeah, didn't have to worry about that. As if I was going to go in there and start a nutrient in. I'm not going to start a nutrient in. It will soak in and just kind of do its thing anyways. You know. Rack your wine into a clean, and about once the wine has reached 1010 to 1020, then we'll move it to another clean fermenter. The next step we'll be doing is we'll be moving this into a secondary fermenter, if you will, and we'll let it sit in there for a few days until we don't see any more bubble activity in the airlock. And our gravity is going to get down to about 0.998, actually, according to this. And at that point, we'll be about 3 weeks into this, and we will start degassing and putting our clarifiers and everything in there, and go from there. And then after it sits from all the clarifying stage, then we'll be putting it in the bottles. So I say this is a straightforward process. It's different than beer in the simplicity factor. I mean, you're just moving it around a lot and storing it and then introducing some things to clear it up. Beer, you have to like do grain to glass. I mean, if you're going to do grain to glass, you do grain, water, hops, yeast, let it ferment, all that. There's just way more steps making beer. Of course, there's steps in wine. If you want to like get the juice yourself, then you have to like press the juice and everything. So when we get to the transfer into the other fermenter, I'll get back to you guys. But that's it for this step. All right, guys. So to correct what I just said a bit ago about stirring and not introducing stuff unnecessarily to the must, just found out another thing about wine. Beer, you have wort, which is unfermented, you know, sugars that you've got from the grain. Well, in wine, it's called must. It's like the very early stage of wine, and must is just like the grape, anything that has to do with the grape, the juice, stems, anything like that. The early stages of the wine is called a must, and I just read the reason why you stir it is that you prevent the alcohol, or you prevent the must from getting too dry as far as fermentation goes. So you're constantly stirring it, introducing more oxygen with each stir, and you want to stir the wine, or you want to stir the must in the early stages, like the first 3 or 4 days. You want to kind of stir that in real good until you get to the secondary stage of fermentation, because it helps introduce oxygen and it kind of helps redistribute that yeast. Because apparently in wine, you really don't want to get a big krausen on top of your wine. You really want to kind of keep it knocked down inside the wine. I'm learning, man, but here we are. And so I went ahead and popped the lid off after I read a little bit more about it, because I'm still figuring this out myself. I went ahead and sanitized my stirring utensil and went in there and stirred it real good, and put the lid back on. So now we're ready to rock and roll. Alright guys, we're to the next stage where we're actually going to transfer the wine to the secondary fermenter. I know that these brew buckets are conical, but the thing is you can't drain the trub or the yeast trub debris out of the bottom of them, so I'm going to have to transfer this wine to the secondary fermenter, and it actually encourages me like just letting the wine splash in. This is so different than beer. Straight up, this is so different than beer, as I'm learning. We want the wine to kind of splash into the secondary fermenter, just to kind of, I guess, help with getting some of the gases out. I'm not sure. But the instructions for the wine kit say, for secondary fermentation, right here, rack your wine into a clean and sanitized carboy. Well, we're not going to use a carboy. We're actually going to use my SS Brewtech brew bucket. I have 3 of these brew buckets in this brewery, and including the sediment, and just let it splash in there. So and then if you had grape skins or oak chips or anything, you would add them at this time, at least for this particular brand's wine kit. I've seen it done differently with other brands, but we're going with it. And then just put the airlock and bung in there and wait another week or so. Yeah, yeah, wait another week, and then we will be doing some degassing and stabilizing and clarifying of the wine after that week. So we're gonna go a whole week of letting this wine continue to sit in here, just transferring it, and then after it's been a week, then we will go into the degassing phase. And I do mention the gravities here of 1010 to 1020, which is probably about right. You know, most of your primary fermentation, at least in the beer world, is done, like most of the fermentation is done in a week. And then the second week and third week are usually more for just letting it sit and clear up a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and get this going. And first I'm gonna take a hydrometer reading because I'm just kind of curious where we are in gravity. I don't usually do my hydrometer readings on beer and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I don't even move my beers to secondary vessels anymore using the brew buckets because I just haven't noticed any difference, honestly, at such a low volume. Now, if I was doing bigger volumes of beer, I'd probably like get a fancier fermenter that I can dump all that trube and everything. So let's get on this, man. Okay, first thing I want to do here is I'm going to collect a hydrometer sample here. I'm going to take the airlock out so the air can flow in as I'm pulling sample here. Oh wow, this is definitely, look at that, a lot of fizz in there. I'll let it slowly trickle in here. There's a lot of carbonation going on in this wine. Alright, that's my sample. Right there. Got a lot of bubbles at the top of this. Oh man, you know, it smells like carbonated grape. It smells like carbonated grape soda. Is what it smells like right now. If I could explain that, that's the best way to describe this right now. I'm gonna go ahead and see if my hydrometer will get in there. Got a little bit of, oh yeah, this thing fermented down. I can't even get a reading. I'll probably do this differently in the future. Got some drippage going on there because I filled this sucker pretty high up. But based on how far this thing is sinking down though, we have definitely, I would estimate we're about 1010. We're about 1010 on that. I know you can't see it because of the foam on top, but just knowing where the hydrometer gauges and everything are. See if I can stir this stuff off. See if I can stir this foam off. It is settling out, so see if I can spin a lot of that foam out of the way. We're actually we fermented down all the way to 1 on this, so I definitely need to move this to a secondary. I should have moved this when it was 1010 to 1020, but I don't know how much that's really going to matter since I'm new to winemaking. But we are going to roll with this, guys. I'm going to move my fermenter as close to the edge as I can, and I've got my, so you guys can see, I've got a sanitized secondary fermenter down here. Just going to let it rip. Pull this back a little bit here. I'm just going to let her drain into there. Move it back a little bit there, because as it gets closer to the end, it will start to kind of trickle more. Flowing pretty fast. Smells amazingly good, honestly. So we'll just let that fermenter drain out. Kind of exciting, really. Pretty exciting stuff. I always like trying new things. While that's doing that, after I degas it, let it sit for, you know, another 2 weeks, roughly. Yeah, like another week actually. After I let this sit for another week, after I've degassed it and everything, then we will bottle it, and at that point in time, we will, according to these instructions here, we will add this other package of, it's a fruit essence bag, and the fruit essence bag, I'll show you here. You guys don't want to sit here and watch this the whole time. So after the degassing happens, you know, and I let it sit for a week, we have this fruit essence bag. So it's strawberry fruit essence. It's like some kind of liquidy strawberry stuff. I can feel like a little bit of some sugar crystals in there. Probably from this product sitting for a while on the shelf. But we'll mix this in and then bottle the wine immediately afterwards. And then we'll have hopefully about 750 milliliter bottles of wine that I can just keep stored out here in a brewery, nice and cool out here, you know. So anyways, we'll get back once this fermenter is done filling up. Okay, transfer is done. We're about 5.5 gallons, I guess now, instead of 6, between the samples I've pulled and the transfer and the loss of between the true and transfer and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and put the sanitized lid back on here on the new fermenter. All right, and put my airlock in there. Keep all the baddies out. I'm gonna fill this up a little bit more star sand. They tell you use metabisulfite, but I have star sand and I don't understand why it would matter. So I'm going with star sand. Yeah, so at this point it's definitely a wine. It's fermented. I mean, it can only go down to like 0.99 on the gravity reading, and we're pretty much almost there already. So the only thing left to do at this point is just like refine the product, if you will, like get the gas out of it and clear it up and let it sit for a little while. So that's really all there is to this, man. But this video is going to actually go all the way to the final product and me tasting it and everything. This isn't going to be like my typical make it and not tell you how it turned out. But yeah, we will get back here when I degas this wine. So stay tuned to the rest of this video.